Of course, we have in television, we have the new show, House of the Dragon, which has just finished filming its second season, and we're going to be planning for the third season soon. But I also have like 8 other spin-off shows that we're developing. The Dunk and Egg show has been greenlit. The others, not yet, but we're still working on them, developing. Some of them may do.
Hi there. This is a quick update on the status of all of the other Game of Thrones spin-offs in various stages of early development at HBO. This is a catch-all update on what's the status of everything Post-Strike Edition, because the writer's strike put everything on pause for months. There hasn't been movement on everything since April. We are 7 months behind, but starting to wake up from that. We already knew Dunk and Egg was greenlit, and now they're starting the casting process. So, coming out of the strike, for the past almost 2 weeks, I've been making all of the Dunk and Egg videos I delayed when the strike began. I finished those, and now, as we close out from that and move on to other projects, well, what's the status of everything else in the nascent World of Westeros cinematic universe? Or WWCU, if you will. That what's been going on since then, that this is the stuff that's in early development, not stuff that's been greenlit. 2 things are greenlit. Obviously, there's House of the Dragon. Season 2 is coming next summer. Dunk and Egg will start filming next spring, probably airing in 2025. I'm talking about all the other stuff. Because I know if you're not checking in every day, you might lose track of this, and there's a ton of clickbaiters going around, a lot of them making up fake leaks just, to get attention or to circulate what they want to hear. No, we haven't really had any movement on anything the past 7 months. But some of this came out in dribs and drabs, or if you didn't hear it the first time, this is a summary of everything we know for the status of this franchise overall. And to keep this succinct, because this is supposed to be the short version video, I've boiled it down to 7 points. And not all of them are big ones, just 7 points diving in, what's the status of everything else. Point 1 of 7. Greenlighting Dunk and Egg did not negatively affect or even pause any of the other spin-off projects in early development. We know this because George R.R. Martin himself stated as much in his blog post reacting to the greenlighting of Dunk and Egg back on April 14th. I'm going to link to that in the description box below, but in a paragraph at the end, he did specify, quote, "The Nymeria show is still in development, so is the Sea Snake show. Just had a great week on that one, working with writers." And there are others, both live action and animated. It's not that, the other one's lost because Dunk and Egg won. We knew there was only one slot open. It would probably get it because it has the most source material. But not only are the other ones not shelved or paused, they're still having active work. There are active discussions going on with the writers through April when they were doing all of this. And there's a couple of animated projects they're considering doing too. Martin compared the quality of them to Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots. I mean, really big budget animated stuff. We were annoyed we didn't get the Histories and Lore motion comics this year. I think because we're going to get a revamped big budget version of that with, real high quality animation coming out in the next year or so. That'll be nice. But point 1, greenlighting Dunk and Egg didn't really affect the other projects. They knew that they would be following it. That's fine. Point 2 out of 7. We're not really sure on the impact of the writer's strike that came a month later on all these other projects, though we think the impact was minimal. Because we know it affected Dunk and Egg. They were actively writing it, and they said, the scripts aren't done yet. This is why it was pushed from 2024 to 2025 release. But we don't think they were final stage writing scripts to the level of dialogue on Nymeria or Young Corlys. These were the early stages where it's called breaking, the brainstorming phase, where you're figuring out the plot, you're storyboarding it, on the chart with the breaking sessions. That I don't think writing was happening. So other than that, everything has been delayed. I don't think they canceled this. Obviously, Warner Discovery has been going on a cancellation wave, that's for other side things, that this is a franchise, a unified franchise where each thing supports the other ones. If anything, they're doubling down on this IP as a franchise and want to make more Westeros Cinematic Universe stuff. So I'm not worried about that. Obviously, we are waiting for George R.R. Martin to give his first big blog update on all this stuff in 7 to 8 months. But there hasn't been news. There's been a strike. That I think when the casting process for Duncan Egg is done, well, not for the whole show, I mean, we know it started 2 weeks ago, but when they officially cast Duncan the Tall and Prince Egg, and they announce it, Martin has a blog post on it. I think that just as before, he'll devote a paragraph or so to the end of the blog post saying, by the way, this is the status of all the other things. The one thing that might have been affected is maybe just due to the schedule being shifted half a year, maybe the writers left, and maybe they got a different writer. I don't think Warner Discovery would drop the project, is what I'm saying, but I think just due to scheduling conflicts and getting other offers, the writers on them may have left. We have no reason to think that, though. That last we heard, Bruno Heller was working on young Corlys, and Amanda Siegel was working on Nymeria. That may have changed. We have no way of knowing that. I'm not worried for the project in general principle, so we'll see what happens. We're waiting on that. 0.3 out of 7. This is all back in April when a lot of news was coming out. Right before Duncan Egg got greenlit, major news sites like Deadline were reliable news sites were reporting we've heard rumors that they're eyeing a Targaryen conquest spinoff. That's probably true, but I think that's just planning 4 to 5 years ahead, that I don't think they want to run that concurrently with House of the Dragon. They're too similar. So the running theory is that's what they're eyeing to start when House of the Dragon ends. And the interesting part of that rumor, though, is they said, instead of the story that you'd think would be Season 1, the actual War of Conquest, they're going to condense and turn into a big-budget theatrical movie. That's an idea they're toying with to expand the franchise and make it multi-platform. And I actually think it's a really good idea. Because I've said that it's basically a 5-act structure. You've got, I said if it was a TV show, it'd be 5 seasons. That you have the War of Conquest itself. Season 2 is the First Dornish War. Then it goes into the reigns of his sons, Sons of the Dragon era, which Martin has said would be 3 books. So, like Season 5 ends with the death of Maegor, the crowning of Jaehaerys. But Season 1 is relatively short and with a lot of action and battle scenes relative to its runtime. I can see that working as a 2 to 3 hour movie. Just for the sake of saying we have a movie, more so than some of these other things that really more than like House of the Dragon Season 1, which is, there's time skips, there's all this. That Targaryen Conquest really lends itself up through the Field of Fire, really lends itself well to being a theatrical movie. I would look forward to that. I mean, the Histories and Lore motion comic pretty much adapted the whole thing in a little over 30 minutes. Back in Season 7, and people really like that. So add in more dialogue, add in that we now know that Aegon was secretly motivated by a prophetic dream. Good stuff there. But I think the plan is, when House of the Dragon ends, make a theatrical movie about the Targaryen conquest leading into a Targaryen conquest early days of the Targaryen dynasty show. This, of course, leads into 0.4 out of 7. How many seasons is House of the Dragon going to run? Back in that series of interviews in April, the head of HBO Drama openly admitted finally, yeah, when we said 3 to 4 seasons, we were lowballing it because we didn't know Season 1 would be a hit. But the whole reason they expanded what would have been a 10-episode season into 16 episodes, split it in half, the first 8 are called Season 2, then 9 through 16 are called Season 3. That we have heard they're expanding to at least 5 seasons on House of the Dragon. That Francesca Orsi, the head of the drama department, she admitted we are discussing whether this should run 5 seasons. And why would they be discussing that? Well, there's a direct sequel era, the Regency era, and it's kind of a question of when do we shift to the sequel? Because whether you include The Hour of the Wolf or not. Fair enough. So, just looking at a calendar, if each TV season comes out every year and a half, working with that number, we'd be looking at House of the Dragon's fifth and final season coming out spring 2029. Give me some leeway there, because maybe they'll film seasons 4 and 5 back to back, so it'll come out sooner, by fall of 2028. Because they wanted seasons 2 and 3 to be back to back, but then the strike happened and that got ruined, so they're not coming out faster. So that might push things up a TV season, to fall instead of spring. Conversely, we have to, put in some leeway for unforeseen consequences and delays. Maybe fall of 2029. But the target right now, the best guess functional target I think they're aiming for, is spring of 2029, fifth and final season of House of the Dragon, which would be immediately followed, summer 2029, by a big-budget, theatrically released Targaryen conquest movie, which is Act 1 of 5. And then the next 4 acts are this 4-season TV show, starting with First Dornish War. And then they put it on TV as well to show this is functionally Season 1, the movie. Season 2 is Dornish War. Season 5 is The Death of Maegor. So the point here is just looking at a calendar, and movies generally come out in summer that are big-budget things like that, spectacles. 2029 is going to be the year of the handoff between House of the Dragon and Targaryen Conquest as the flagship show of the franchise, the big-budget flagship project. Other things would continue. I think the Regency show would then come as a direct sequel to Dance of the Dragons, but it's a lot more palace intrigues and stuff. It's smaller scale. That's good. It means you can run it concurrently with other things, but backburner is a bit of an exaggeration, but I think we'd be getting a Regency show concurrently with Targaryen Conquest for maybe 3 or 4 seasons, just because there's still material at the end of Fire and Blood to get to. I'll cover this in another video, but that's the year of the handoff, where the flagship is Targaryen Conquest. We're still doing a Regency show of what happened to all the younger characters still alive at the end. And also, the later Dunk and Egg seasons and all these other projects, but I'm going to cover this in another video. Rounding out the list really fast, this is supposed to be a short update. Point 5, this actually just happened in the past 2 weeks. While I do think they're doubling down on this franchise, Warner Discovery is going through a cancellation wave on other things because the big streaming boom is over. Max Borenstein is the writer who made the prequel pitch for a Doom of Valyria series, and this is supposed to be a main flagship series running 5 to 7 seasons, not a one-shot, because it's about the civil wars in the century leading up to the Doom, which happens in the final season. It's a lot of this would be the ASOIAF show, showing Valyria, all of its colonies, all of that. That while that was one of the final round contenders, it lost to Long Night, and then Dance of the Dragons picked up, but I've really been looking forward to that. One piece of good news was Borenstein got hired for a different HBO show, this basketball Lakers in the 80s show, Winning Time. So good, build up his reputation, build up his work experience, build up his internal clout at HBO. I'm patient. You can see that as a positive, that, he's establishing his cred there. Winning Time was pretty well received, but then they abruptly canceled it after its 2nd season. That was not meant to be the final season. They wanted at least 3. Judging from the public reactions, people don't think it deserved to be canceled, so I don't think that reflects on Borenstein's writing ability, that they were cutting corners. It wasn't wildly popular, but people liked it enough that they felt it really shorted them. It shortchanged them to only stop after 2 seasons like that, abruptly without much explanation. That while Borenstein is now technically free to, maybe he can pitch the Valyria prequel again. That is possible, but I'm just telling you now, I doubt it, because I don't think they're going to run 2 or even 3 major TV shows at the same time. There's going to be one flagship show like House of the Dragon, and then like 2 or 3 smaller scale shows like Dunk and Egg, which is a multi-season thing but it's low budget, or like a Young Corlys one-shot, 1-season limited series. I don't see them running 2 or even 3 big 10-episode, big-budget Dragons Everywhere shows. The money is just not there. And if they were going to do a direct successor to House of the Dragon, it would be Targaryen Conquest. I think Valyria will be the show after Targaryen Conquest. So I wish Bornstein well, but the fact that he's free from winning time now, I don't think that would lead to a Valyria show right now. Who knows? Maybe he'll work on one of the other spin-offs, like Nymeria, that they're assembling writers' rooms and people from the HBO stable of writers are moving around. So that's something else that happened. I don't really think it impacts anything. 0.6 out of 7. Just in case you haven't been checking in. We have heard no news of substance whatsoever about Kit Harington's proposed Jon Snow spin-off since it first leaked out and got confirmed in summer of 2022. There has been no news on it whatsoever. There have been one or two maybe credible rumors that basically amounted to Kit is heading to HBO to discuss it again. Which, well, that's nothing. That's so vague as to be meaningless that we just heard, now that the strike is ending, they're going to be discussing what they're doing again. I don't know if that's true, and it might even be true, but it tells us nothing, and the clickbaiters just got a clickbait that you've seen so much clickbait of some guy DM'd me over Twitter about this amazing leak about the Jon Snow thing. You know what clickbait is when you see it. I'm letting you know from all of the major news sites and spy reporter channels, talking to all of them, they have heard nothing about that. The Kit did say he had assembled a team of writers, but I don't think there's scripts or anything yet. Anything you hear about that is just trying to take advantage of you. If someone said, if we got a shred of news about that was credible, I would have reported on it. Even that we do not know what's going on with that or how it factors into their plans. I wish Kit well. If anyone other than Kit was doing this, I'd be annoyed, but because they ruined his character so much and he wants to be in charge on this, I say let him. So, just let you know, people keep asking, there's been no news on that, and we don't know how the strike affected it. Final piece of info here. 0.7 out of 7. When is the first trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2 coming? If you didn't hear, 2 weeks ago, when they announced that Duncan Egg will start filming next spring, same event, they privately screened the first trailer to reporters. HBO privately screened it, so they're not waiting on any footage or for finished visual effects. The trailer is done and in hand. They're just waiting for an opportunity to release it. And at first we thought, oh, maybe it'll be out by Monday. It wasn't out by Monday, but increasingly our hope is that they're going to release it at Brazil Comic-Con, CCXP in Sao Paulo, which starts November 30th, the Thursday that's exactly 1 week after Thanksgiving in the United States. And, you know, we have so many bad memories about trying to guess when trailers would come out back in late 2021. Maybe it'll come out in the Succession season finale. It didn't. Maybe it'll come out at New Year's. It didn't. CCXP even hyped up that they'd have an announcement, and then they didn't in 2021. But we actually have reason to hope it will come out at CCXP, because in the past few days, they have confirmed HBO is going all out for Brazil Comic-Con this year. They're having a huge panel. I mean, physically, their booth that they're building, they're putting a lot of money into it. They're sending a lot of cast members. We don't know specifically which ones. But it's been making the rounds in the news publicly that HBO is going to have a bunch of major announcements at their really big, physically and in terms of impact, Sao Paulo Comic-Con panel on November 30th. So maybe they'll have a bunch of trailers for other projects. What other projects do they have in 2024? Euphoria isn't coming back. The Last of Us isn't coming back. By process of elimination, what else could they be talking about at a big Comic-Con panel in Brazil for their 2024 slate? Are you going to all that trouble for True Detective Season 4? I doubt it. So we have high hopes for CCXP week after Thanksgiving. Might be when they publicly release that first trailer. And it's not a teaser, they said it's a full trailer. Now, I only want to keep this about 15 minutes. I'm going to do a longer thing where I talk about the other phases and scheduling on a scale of years of when are they going to fit these shows in or not. I'm going to split that off into a separate video after this. But This is my relatively succinct catch-up video on all of the news on the other spin-offs in the past 7 months since the strike began, and which has now thankfully ended.